My name is Daniel Daze. I'm from Ghana.
Hello, I'm Leon Wedrogo and I'm from Burkina Faso, although I grew up in Belgium.
I'm Noni Mushiri and I am a journalist at Focus on Africa Radio. I'm from Kenya.
I was primarily raised by my grandparents because neither of my parents were in the country. But my mom's family particularly had a role, in raising me as well, which was amazing. I had many moms, many dads. So my grandparents were calm. They really never raised their hands. They also never really did the whole no TV or none of that. I don't know. They never did that, but I think it's probably because for them, they just disciplined with love. But I think the other aspect is probably because, like I said, being raised by a village, my aunts, my uncles, some of them, they are the ones who would give us the beatings. So I had an aunt, for example, I loved her to bits, but man, she could do so. So she would tell you, my aunt would tell you, go and collect the stick that you want me to use to beat you. And of course you don't want to. And you're just like, and she's like, okay, you don't want to, I'll go and get it. But it's better if you go get it.
My father's most unique way was waking me up at dawn to talk to me. He'd wake me up at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. and we'd have a very candid conversation. Then I would think about the fact that he's been thinking about it for so long, the fact that he stayed up thinking about it, and that alone made me feel very remorseful about my actions. And it was a smart way for him to start because it's not something that someone else grows. So even as an adult, he still wakes me up at dawn sometimes and has frank conversations with me. And it always reminds me of, yeah, he used to do this when I was 11. He used to do this when I was 9. So yeah, it's a punishment that one does not outgrow. If it got to the point where I needed to be lashed, usually, I love you, mommy, but usually my mom would tell my dad to do it. And my dad would hesitantly, reluctantly do it. I remember that so well. Most unique time was when my dad read a scripture to me first. The heart of a child is wrapped around foolishness, and it takes the rod of discipline to pry it out. So he would explain that he wants to pry out the foolishness that I was born with. And so he did that just about once or twice, but very reluctantly, I must say.
My mom, it was mostly like a long talk saying like why I was wrong, why I shouldn't do that. My dad, I would say my dad was present in the way they were disciplining me, but I was kind of scared of my dad. So when my dad was involved, it means that it's gonna be really bad. I remember as well when we were younger with my sister, please mom and dad, don't be upset. I don't know if they really have a word for that, but when we were behaving really bad, we had to go on our knee and stay on our knee until my mom say, that's it. But imagine staying on your knee for quite a long time. It can be, and trust me, it was a great way to discipline us. And sometimes they were threatening us to say, okay, like if you don't behave well, I'm gonna beat you. But they never did it. I think it was just a sentence that they were using to scare us.
One time, I don't know what I did. I've tried to remember, I don't know what I did. But she was upset and she was like, you know what, today, this is the day. She kicks her slipper into her hand and she's like, you. And Swahili says, ntakuchapa, like I'll beat you, like you. Over here, we're not doing this, right? So I'm like, all right then, let's go. Like you're gonna do it. And we were running. Mind you, my mom used to play a lot of sports. She used to play basketball, all this stuff. So we're on the table doing these ones, across the table from each other. And I managed to run away and run up the stairs. And she's at the bottom of the stairs. So I'm like, I made it. And I'm running up the stairs. And she takes her slip and throws it up the stairs without missing a beat. And it just knocks me on the back of my head. And she goes, and go to your room. I was already going to my room. I do think sometimes myself, my mom would pinch my ear, but sometimes it was deserved. Kids can also be a bit annoying. So sometimes I'm like, yeah.
Although I don't have kids yet, but I don't think I will ever say to them that I'm gonna beat you. I don't think it's a sentence you should use to discipline your kids. I think that's what they were doing most of the time, where they were talking to me and explaining to me why I was wrong. I think it was a great way because then they were talking to me as an adult. Yes, I'm their child, but also They were trying to understand why I did that. And they were trying to, just educate me, but with words.
I find that I was more affected by the threat of physical discipline than the actual physical discipline. And it's carried out through my education. It took me a long time to actually be okay with being wrong. Yeah, because you really do not want to get things wrong, because you do not want to face the consequences you might face, and then that alone would reduce your appetite for risk and to a certain extent affect your level of innovation, because you do not want to color outside the lines.
When I was raised, discipline was what I would call a wholesome experience. There was some physical, like whooping on the ass, if I can say that. There was a little bit of that, but mostly it really was out of love, like explaining you don't do this because if you do, these are the consequences, and just a lot of love, really.